What's up, guys? Today we're looking at two punches that Floyd Mayweather throws in his fights over and over that are super effective. I have utilized them in my fights. They have been effective for me, and I'm going to show you some fight footage today of me actually utilizing them as I break down on Bob here how I actually go about landing them, what little tweaks and changes we need to emphasize to make these punches something that will land for you. Stick around for the full episode, guys. Floyd taught me how to use these techniques. They have worked exceptionally well for me, and I bet they will for you as well. Alright guys, I learned a long time ago that being at the gym is not going to teach you everything you need to know. I learned these techniques by watching Floyd, as I have many other techniques from many other fighters. And if you've only watched Floyd here or there, you might not have even noticed him doing these. But when I saw them and I went, wow, he's effective with these, I've got to try them. And then I went to the gym, I started utilizing them, and then I started having even world champions asking me after our sparring rounds, what were you doing? How are you hitting me? Why were those so difficult to block? Well, all I can say is thanks, Floyd. I watched his fights. I used his techniques. I basically stole them. That's all what this is about, right? We see somebody do something and then we try to make it our own. So let's start today, guys, with a slappy, long overhand, almost a Stockton slap of boxing. I want to throw up a clip here of me fighting Mosab and using it at the end of the fight. I didn't get it going until we were a little further in the match. But what you guys should note on this technique is that I'm actually coming around his guard. His hands are up. His hands are in the correct position. I'm trying to actually batter my hand right behind his ear. So let's break down exactly what this should look like. If I'm facing towards somebody and my hands are up here, I'm going to be able to block the straight punches and I'm going to be able to block most hooks that are coming, which makes it, let's say I'm attacking Bob, it makes it very difficult for me to find the openings. But with this punch, I find that I can constantly land it. Now, the first thing to note is what is our striking area? Normally, the part you can see of the glove right now is our striking area. But today, it's going to be this part. It's going to be right there. The red area of the glove is going to be our striking zone. The next thing to note is the distance. How far am I going to be away? The way I like to set this up is I like to throw my jab. When I'm right at range with the jab, a really long jab, that's the distance that I'm going to throw at. Now, most of you guys will be going, okay, you go here and then you throw a hook. You're going to miss. And that's normally true. But because we're coming with a straight arm, not entirely straight, but slightly bent, because we're coming with the straight arm and we let our weight fall forward slightly over the lead leg, I'm able to capture a shot right behind his ear. Super effective, super disorienting. And to get enough power to make it uncomfortable for this guy, I'm obviously not just doing this, going straight arm, I'm kind of slapping. I'm giving a little batter. So you guys can watch Bob's head here. When I throw from this range, normally I'd be dropping and I'd be throwing that punch to the jaw. But on this one, you're going to see his head just batter to the side. I come from here, and I'm basically slapping him upside his head, following through. If his head's nice and strong, then the shot's just going to bounce off. The reason this shot is so effective, again, is because we're coming behind the ear, which is something that people don't expect. So what I like to do, the way I like to execute this normally, or when I'm in a sparring session when I keep landing it, is I utilize my jab. I'm throwing my jab, I'm tossing it out. As soon as I see those arms start to draw up, they start to close up, and I know the back of the head, or not the back of the head, but behind the ear is exposed, then I just toss up my shot. Right away from there, I can get back to work with the jab. Back to the head, maybe slip up to the body, make them think once or twice, and then a solid power shot to finish it off. This one I can land over and over and over. And then when we're done, people ask me, how are you landing it? How did you keep hitting me behind the ear? It's so weird because your hands are up and the shot is still landing. So it's that combination of getting a little whip in your arm to get some power, and then making sure that I'm still keeping at range. I'm not letting myself jam in and trying to throw a short shot. Touch, slap, get back to touching, slap. If you've watched enough Floyd Mayweather fights, you must have noticed this. And if you haven't noticed it, it is a reason that he is so dangerous. He's so difficult to deal with because he has that really effective jab, but then he can still slap you up beside the ear. It makes it very difficult to stand within that range with him, especially when you're trying to get counter shots off. It just doesn't work. Now, the next technique I want to talk about is the jab to the body. And you might be going, okay, jab to the body. There's nothing really special about that, but there is. Because if I just execute my jab to the head, the same way I do my jab to the body. It's not going to land, and it leaves me very exposed. The reason it leaves me very exposed is when I throw my jab to the head, I'm relying on this high shoulder to protect this side of my head. But when I come down to the body, now my head is completely open, which means if I throw here and somebody comes with a counter cross, I'm just going to eat that shot. So the first thing that we have to recognize, even as kickboxers, as MMA fighters, when we throw the jab, the head has to come off the center line. But because our head's coming off the center line and we can't be like Floyd where we're here and then we're rolling around, we need to make sure the other hand is very tight to the head. When I executed the jab to the body, I was fighting a Thai guy. I knew his boxing defense would not be exceptional, and once I started landing shots to the head, his arms would probably rise up, leaving his head exposed. But I didn't want to get too close to him, and a jab to the body is still a super long way of landing torso shots. So the way I like to execute this is I like to be completely out of range, out of kicking range, out of punching range. Maybe I threw a couple shots to the head first, and then I moved out. I see my opponent's arms are starting to raise up. I push myself forward. I get my head off the center line, dropping down not so low that I'm going to take a kick to the face or a knee to the face, but enough that my head is in a safe position. I land that jab, and then right away I'll exit. If I see them actually making a mistake and starting to drop their elbows substantially to deal with this jab to the body, then I can fake and come up top. But in the instance of the glory fight against the Thai guy, it was just more me entering, landing the jab to the body, and then exiting, keeping him on his toes, making sure that he is not ready for all the variety of punches that are coming. And that's the thing with the jab to the body. It might not be the shot that's going to put you down, but if you appropriately place it, we're not talking right down to the middle of the stomach, but in the high solar plex area, if you take a couple jabs there, it starts to get very, very unpleasant. I'm just snapping it. I'm not trying to hit him and move him back. I'm just placing it in with a little bit of snap and just making things uncomfortable for him, creating openings, being unorthodox with my punches. And even if these aren't your favorite punches, you go, you know what? I throw them a little bit in sparring, but they're not going to be for me. They're not going to be my main punches. It's important to understand them, because I can guarantee you, when I land these in sparring sessions and people ask me after what was happening, the reason it was happening is because they did not understand the techniques. Drill them, understand them, and then if somebody ever clips you with it, you can go right away, oh, I know what that was. I know what I have to do to block it. For the body shot, for the block, elbow across. That's all I'm looking to do, just a little parry. For the hook behind the head, I just need to make sure that I'm not just keeping my hands like this to block, but sometimes I'm grabbing behind my ear. I do this when I have somebody who's really sloppy. They're launching big punches in like that, and I'm going, yeah, I could stand here, but they might clip me behind the ear. So if I reach and I grab with my hands behind my head, when you execute your punch that way, it protects the entire portion of the head, and it gives you a nice counter shot because I twist, get the block off, and then I have that counter. Watching the best fighters in the world has helped me become a better fighter. Floyd Mayweather, one of the best boxers of all time. You watch a couple techniques, you go, nobody else is throwing that. Maybe I should try it out. Maybe I should see if it's effective for me. It's not my go-to punch. It's not something I bust out in every fight. But when the moment's right, I can actually throw it in the fight, and who knows how beneficial it was in that moment for me. I might just be thinking, I threw it 3 or 4 times on a fight, it's not a big deal, but sometimes it might be a whole lot more than that. It might help you actually win fights when you maybe it would have been much harder without throwing them. Who knows? So guys, of these 2 punches, which one are you more excited to try? Which one do you think is going to be the punch that you can add to your arsenal and be successful in sparring or fights with? Drop it in the comments below. Give me some indication what you're looking forward to trying out. Guys, if you enjoyed the video, give it a like. If you haven't already, get subscribed. Train hard, guys, and I'll see you back here soon for another video.